Hello, everyone. I got here a little early. I just wanted to see something quick. If it's live on X, because last time it didn't do it, and it looks like it is live on X. Okay, good. All right, cool. Um, Give me 1 second. 1 second. All right. If anyone's here, let me know if you're here. Cool. Ahoy. Also, 1 more second, guys. Sorry. I was almost hardly able to read that. Ahoy. Sorry about that. Yeah, so the old age, just out of curiosity, I likely knowing the answer, but I still wanted to see. Hey, John. Uh, I went to Grok X's AI service, and I said name anti-jihad superheroes. So the response was here are some notable anti-jihad superheroes that have been referenced in various contexts. It says here are some notable anti-jihad superheroes. Hey, Tarks9, nice icon. Here are some notable anti-jihad superheroes, plural. So here's a list that Elon Musk's Grok puts up. He says, PIGMAN, created by Bosch Fawson. PIGMAN is an ex-Muslim counter-jihad superhero featured in the comic series The Infidel. PIGMAN battles against jihadists, embodying a unique stance against Islamic extremism. These characters, another plural, Mike TV Dub. What do you mean, Aaron Lepresti raid? As in, what happened that one time where, hey Aaron, hello? That was funny. During, I guess, Kings, when I guess 100 people jumped there. But it says these characters, plural, again, reflect a specific narrative counter to jihadist themes in comic storytelling. I find it funny. I find it humorous. Name anti-jihad superheroes was my prompt for Grok, and it says here are some notable anti-jihad superheroes, plural, and it only names Pigman. It says these characters reflect a specific narrative counter to jihadist themes in comic book storytelling. And then it was another one. Let me move this out of the way and get here. Let's see if I can look at it here. Okay. Then I think I asked another question. I guess this is a summary. Let's see if I can knock out the summary and then see what I asked. I guess, what was the question that I asked? Give me 1 second. I guess, okay. How many anti-jihad superheroes are there? That was my question to Grok. Yeah. But you know what, though? It's funny. I'm not sure if they need a correction because the fact is they only named Pigman and no one else. But there is another. And I'll mention it after. And he's not as explicit as Pigman, but there is another that they didn't name, which I'm a little surprised about, considering the notoriety of that person. But let me just read this quick, guys. So I asked Grok, I said, how many anti-jihad superheroes are there? This is, I think, after I asked the first one. So it says here, now keep in mind, I'm very specific here. How many anti-jihad superheroes? I didn't say Muslims. I didn't say Muslim superheroes. I say, how many anti-jihad superheroes are there? And Grok writes back, I guess, 15 pages of quick research that it does through its, I guess, the system there. Based on the information available on the web, there isn't a specific count of anti-jihad superheroes, but there are several. Now, I'm not asking about Muslim superheroes across different comic book universes who might be interpreted in various contexts or narratives. Here's a summary. Sup, Michelle? So here's a list. I said, how many anti-jihad superheroes are there? And the first one on this list, which is not an anti-jihad superhero, it's a Muslim superhero, Miss Marvel Kamala Khan. From Marvel Comics is notably one of the most prominent Muslim superheroes. She doesn't explicitly fight jihad, but embodies positive Muslim representation. She doesn't explicitly fight jihad. She never fought jihad. She's been around for now 12 years. has never used her power in order to try to defeat those who have, quote unquote, perverted her noble and peaceful religion. Think about that also, because Marvel is trying to push the idea that Islam is fine, it's great, it's noble, it's peaceful. Okay, so you're trying to push that through your character and her family, right, and her friends. Why isn't she going and using her powers against the perverts, the jihadists, the extremists for destroying her religion? Evening, Lux. Thanks, Lux. Me too. I'm ready for the launch of Pigman. Um, I mean, you know what? It's funny, John, because I even tried, I think, Google's AI, and they listed me only. So, but here, the answer, I think they're trying to grab something to make something seem better than it is, because all they're naming here are the Muslim superheroes, not the anti-child superheroes, as I asked. And then in the next list is Simon Baz, Green Lantern in DC Comics, and Khalid Nassour, Dr. Fate in DC Comics, are also significant Muslim characters. I didn't ask about Muslim characters. The 99, created by Naif Al-Matawa, features a team of superheroes whose powers are inspired by. I want to know if the 99, because I remember those. They think about this. You got the 99, right? It's supposed to be all these Muslim superheroes. It's supposed to be the biggest thing in the world, right? In the Islamic world. First of all, no one was reading them. No one was buying them. And then somehow some chump at DC gave them the right to use Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman and the Justice League with their not with the 99, and it bombed. And I think they blamed the U.S. or something like that. It's like, and around that time when Wonder Woman appeared in there, she had been wearing the most clothes she had worn in decades. If you remember, a jacket, looked like a turtleneck almost, boots, no skin was showing besides her face and maybe hands. So think about that also. Perfect timing, right? And I remember going after them 13 years ago in the cartoons and essays that I wrote for Front Page Magazine. So it says here, other characters like Dust, Suraya Kadir, who is a character, I believe, that Ethan Van Sciver designed after Grant Morrison created after 9/11. Because think about this. Grant Morrison, the guy who let us know that he takes more drugs than anyone, I could tell by his writing, he wants to let us know he took more drugs than anyone. Okay, great achievement, Grant. His response to 9/11 was to do what? To create an anti-jihad superhero? To oppose the jihadists? No, to create a Muslim superhero and stick her in the X-Men. That was his response to 9/11. And Monet St. Croix from the X-Men series, Night Runner, Bilal Asela. It seems like he created all of these. One man to try to make up for his whatever. And also, think about the timing also. Grant Morrison, right after 9/11, the atrocity of 9/11, the horrific attack. He all of a sudden came out as a pacifist. After one of the worst atrocities we've seen. Unbelievable. Power Master Jazz. Oink. And then finally it lists Bosch Fawson's Pigman is perhaps the closest to an anti-jihad superhero specifically designed to confront terrorism from a counter-jihad perspective. While the term anti-jihad in superhero context isn't broadly used, well, if it's only one character, then it's not broadly used. Only Pigman explicitly positions itself against jihad. Thus, in terms of superheroes directly labeled or created as anti-jihad, there's primarily one known example. I think about this also, guys. It just hits home, and I've been told by some people sometimes, like, you know that you're the only one doing this, right? I'm like, I didn't really think about it, to be honest. I expected or anticipated some people doing some kind of anti-jihad superheroes over the years. I did. I thought maybe there'd be, rip-offs like Wild Boar Man and so on. And there never has. And this, just this week, I think 140 people were murdered this week. There's a few attacks in Europe. It seems like every day now. The jihad is still active. It's still, over 300,000 human beings murdered since 9/11. 44,000 jihadist attacks since 9/11. It doesn't go away. But the fear factor doesn't go away either, from publishers, from individuals. And that's why, it's like, I just did what I did. I mean, to me, it was a natural thing to respond to the atrocity with a superhero that takes out the enemy. At least in fiction, I can see the enemy get it the way they should get it in real life. That was my purpose in creating Pigman, and which is why I'm very excited to launch this now with Comicsgate. I'm very excited to see if can make another mark. There were moments over the years that highs and lows where Pigman became a little more you know aware. I mean, people became a little more aware of Pigman after the Daily Show, after certain things happened, after I was attacked and almost killed in Texas at the Drum Muhammad contest event, and so on. But this is a little different here because the comics are comic book readers who want stories that are not politically communist. I mean, flat out, they're unique, different, uh, individualistic, anti, you know, counterculture in a lot of ways. It really is. It really is. John said, I think Friday is going to be a big day. I think so too. And also, it's the Friday prayers. That's not why I did it, but I just thought about it. Friday, a lot of Muslims go a little wild because their imam goes wild, and therefore they bust out of those doors of the mosque sometimes, and they're feeling it a little more than usual and act on it, and so on. So even that's a good day for that as well. So yeah, and then it says here again, it says Pigman by Bosch False, and again it says it. However, many Muslim superheroes might be seen in narratives where they combat extremism or are involved in stories that could be interpreted as opposing radical ideologies, though this isn't their primary or explicit identity. Where, who, what, where have we seen that? Have you guys seen that? Where Muslim superheroes have taken on jihad? Have you guys seen it? I haven't seen it. I'd be glad to. I mean, I'd be happy to see it. Let me try something here, guys. 1 second. I'm gonna try something. 10 truths. Islam, Boston. Let's see what comes up. 1 second, guys. Okay. This was originally written for PJ Media. You know what? This is actually, I just thought about it right now. I think it's a good time to make you guys aware of this. Let's see if I can get it all on screen. If I put the reader. Okay. But will they have, yes, they will have the graphics. Excellent, because I did this for PJ Media 12 years ago. I did it for PJ Media 12 years ago. And since then, whatever reason, all the cartoons I made for it were knocked out. It was a 404, like, no. Power Master Jazz says, not very many superheroes fight evil today. It's sad. Yeah, it is. So I wrote this in 2013, right before the debut of Miss Marvel, Marvel getting in on the pro-Islam propaganda. Pro-Islam propaganda. They did it a little before DC. DC came in after the fact with Night Runner and Baz, I guess, a Green Lantern, and some other characters. Okay, Marvel Dust, the X-Men, the Muslim X-Men, who I guess can turn to dust or sand. I don't know what it was. But anyway, this is a good time to read this. I didn't even think about it until right now. If you guys don't mind, I want to go through it with you guys here. Because I wrote this again. I was particularly pissed off. I'm trying to, write and draw against jihad. And here is Marvel threatening to deliver us Islamic propaganda through Disney Marvel. That was a purpose, to show us and tell us that Islam's good. Don't worry about these racists and Islamophobes. Islam's good. And we're going to show you how good it is. And we're going to make sure that our character doesn't face any of the quote-unquote extremists. So I note that in here. So the reason why it's on Think Israel and the reason why the graphics are here, again, because PJ Media, it's still up there, but they knocked out all my cartoons. I don't know why. I don't know. But anyway, let me read this. I wrote this again, 2013. It must have been a few months before the debut of Miss Marvel. So let me read this here. The Muslim terrorist is a cliche, but only in real life. I said it for years. Um, I gotta show you guys one thing also that Grok I think overlooked. Hey Diana, good evening, Bosch. Pigman is the only anti-Jihad superhero in the comic world. Propaganda. Thank you. But Grok was a little not okay. Not that the fixer, Frank Miller's fixer, is anti-Jihad superhero per se. He was on the rooftops of Empire City. Al Qaeda hit the city. Then he ended up fighting them, I guess, for one night or whatever. It was one night actually. So someone actually commissioned me to draw this. Let me show you the big screen. Thanks, Gary. Thank you for getting it. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Gary. Yeah, I draw recreations of my William Muhammad cartoon. I have six left. Out of 20. It's very limited, where I basically redraw. It's a little different than the original, but I basically redraw the Muhammad cartoon where Muhammad's telling me, let me see if I can get it on the screen. It's behind me in a canvas form, where Muhammad screams to me, "You can't draw me," and I say, "That's why I draw you." And it's my most popular, famous cartoon, and Gary got one of them. So thanks a lot, Gary. Appreciate it. A man called Plush says, "Told my buddy about your comic. He replied, 'Bring dignity back to bacon.'" Hell yeah, it's hilarious, very funny. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna read this, but just a quick note. Grok overlooked Frank Miller's attempt at taking on Jihad, which was the fixer in his Holy Terror graphic novel, which he's been basically apologizing for ever since. It's terrible. But it was a half-assed effort, not that good. There were elements. I give him a few kudos for taking it on to some extent, for at least killing some of the scumbags, but never going deeper than a night out and killing some guys. So someone who knew about my attitude about Holy Terror asked me to commission this, which I'm going to show a little bigger here. She asked me to commission Pigman kicking Frank Miller's his character, the Fixer's ass, and echoing Frank Miller, because Frank Miller did some media for Holy Terror, and when he did, he told the media, "I don't know squat about Islam." And my thing was like, why not, Frank? Why didn't you do your homework? It would have been a better story. It would have made you understand the threat more. It would have been a richer story. Why not? Because Pigman takes on the ideology. It's a culture war. It's a political war. It's on every level, on every front. And that's why I have the main characters go on television, go on debates, and go on, and so on. They're fighting. It's a battle of ideas and a physical battle as well. And Frank Miller just took on some of the physical battle, only for a very limited window, and also saying, "I don't know squat about Islam." It pissed me off, to be blunt. It did. And so they forgot. Grok forgot about Frank Miller's character, who, at least on one night, did take on Jihad. That's not fair. You got to give Frank a little credit for at least attempting to do it, and again backtracking ever since, but which sucks. Never showed me any love or over it. I tried to talk to him about it for about 5-10 minutes at a party. He wasn't quite there. He looked like death. 11 years ago. So I wanted to discuss that. I said, look, since we're the only guys really took this on to any extent, can we just have a talk about it? I knew his girlfriend, who had dinner with me and my girlfriend at the time, a couple of times. Frank was supposed to show up, and he never did, whatever reason, resented me or something. His girlfriend loved Pigman. I don't know. It's just he's like off the grid now. Frank Miller used to be part of the industry, part of the conversation. He always was. He was always doing talks and being engaging with the fans. He has been there for years now. And I don't know what he's doing. I just saw another cover he did. It looks horrific. It's a cat, black cat drawing that they did. It's not good. No neck. Looks weird. Um, Power Master Jazz says, I like that Pigman has a belly. I feel represented. It's hilarious. But it's true. He had to have one, right? And I got in an argument with someone who wanted to make action figures of Pigman. He was very interested. I was very interested. And he showed me something like maybe some kind of sample. I said, no, that won't work. I said, Pigman has a belly. I need a, he goes, no, 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 we can't do that. He should be heroic. I said, he is heroic, but he's also a little over the hill. He's also a little, he's not ready for a prime time. So he's a little heavier, and it makes sense, Pigman. And he wouldn't go for it. We had a little falling out, and that was it. Um, Magic Me writes, love your Alan Moore video. What do you think of Grant Morrison? Would love to hear your take. I don't care for Grant Morrison. I think he's all over the place. I think he's a mess. I think his mind has disintegrated, really. But I do like All Star Superman. Many elements of it. I love it, actually. I can't think of a Superman comic that I go back to a little more than his, more so than John Byrne's Man of Steel, more so than Frank Miller and John Romita Jr.'s attempt at Superman Year One. Um, there are elements in there that are grand, that are beautiful, that are very loving of the character. So kudos to him on that. But overall, I couldn't get into a lot of the comics that I read from. But All Star Superman, I have the Absolute Edition, the extra hardcover, and it's beautiful and it's big. And Frank Quitely, most of the time, drew well, except for some faces at times, which made Superman look a little retarded. It was very weird. I don't know if he used himself as a model. I don't know. But Grant Morrison, All Star Superman, I love it. There are some moments here and there I'm like, okay, I can do without, but there are others that it's really good. The high points I think are higher than any of the other Superman stories, to its credit. And and I've been waiting for. It's the closest we have. It's not quite. It's not on the level of Dark Knight Returns, to have that epic novel, graphic novel for Batman. But it's what we have for now, in my opinion, in terms of something that really has hit the mark about Superman and who he is. The wholesome guy that he is, a wholesome character. They didn't try to bring him down. They didn't try to make him a lowlife, try to make him weak. They didn't do that. And I appreciate it, especially for the fact that these guys they're foreigners. I think both of them are Scots, the writer and artist. There's something to that. We need that epic, unforgettable Superman story. Superman is so iconic that there's so many thousands and thousands and thousands of comics of his, and there are a few good stories here and there, but nothing of the kind of impact that I think the character deserves. Just nothing on that level. A serious man says, I saw Frank Miller last week at MegaCon. Tell me about it. Did you get a chance to talk to him? Was he signing? Was he active? Was he talking about comics? Curious. I didn't know he was there. That's the thing. I didn't know he was there. I didn't hear that he was there. No one mentioned it. Where is he? In terms of, again, oh, he's older. Yeah, that's fine. He's still here. He's still here. Mike Hunt says, I always said that Halo Jones is Alan Moore's best comics. I think you'd mentioned that. It's not derivative of literature. It's an original story, not a parody. Cool art, too. I think you mentioned that, Mike. DJ Gravy Mix, have you seen the animated adaptation of All Star Superman? I really like that. I think I must have, because I love that book. And I think they try to at least look a little like Quitely's work, but they can't quite do it. I mean, the guy's great. He's when he's great, he's great. He's one of the best today. I mean, in terms of just impact, and when you see his work, like, wow, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought I wouldn't have thought that character would be drawn that way, and so on. He did a little like a Star Wars drawing with it was after a battle of a Jedi Master walking into his Padawan, as it would look like, at least to me, and a whole load of people were not dead, and then the only thing you saw from the action was the bar had some lightsaber indents crossing across it. Very effective, very unique, and beautifully drawn with a great angle. and his way of making things look, everything looks like it's wrapped around each other, very real in that sense, not realistic, but very real, very lived in, very the line work he uses, the belt, the way the shirt goes in, the folds, really good. The guy's really good. I want to see more from him. I haven't seen anything. I saw some covers here and there. Serious Man says about Frank Miller, he was signing. He did not look good. Yeah, he hasn't looked good for a long time. He discusses it in a movie which it's embarrassing, to be part of a movie called American Genius. I would never accept that. If anyone even wants to call me genius and put that movie and put my name there, be part of it, and nah, wouldn't do that. He shouldn't have done that. He should have said, just call it Frank Miller Cartoonist. I'm good with that. But he didn't. I think the guy at this time in his life maybe needs that kind of, push. Maybe his ego is a little less healthy than it used to be, let's just say. And maybe he needs that. It's always a lack of ego which gets people into those positions where they have to overcompensate. Like Eric July, I was pushing back against, I think Ethan was saying, Ethan and Shane were talking about the ego on Eric July. It was on Trashcast. I was there for a few hours while Ethan was launching his latest Dark Harvest campaign. And I said, well, I think he overcompensates. I think it's a lack of ego that lets him do the things he does and say the things he says. A person with a healthy ego would never find themselves being filmed in slow motion with some heavy bass music while he's walking to the convention, to the con that you were at, a Serious Man MegaCon. He wouldn't be doing that. A person with a healthy ego doesn't need to do that. The whole, everything that makes him good and great is in his work. It should be. It should be. But he's not doing much work, is he? I mean, when did ISOM 2 come out? 2 years ago, I think. Where's ISOM 3? I don't know. All he's doing is writing, allegedly. 1 and 2 were not good, so 3 can't be good. But John says Frank Miller's 1 and 2 was a bit of a rough read. That's what I hear also, man. I looked through it, and I got to say, the only thing that stopped me cold from buying it, whereas I would have bought it before, was the fact that it did look nothing like the original. There was no color. It was black and white, unlike the original, The Beautiful Color by Lynn Varley, and the fact that there was no backgrounds. There was just similar to Howard Chaykin, like a lot of close-ups and then some bodies in back, and that's it, back and forth. Close-ups on the side of faces, and then sometimes like a body or two, Okay. A Man Called Plush says, in a perfect world, Pigman and Punisher would team up. Man, I would love that. I would love that. I think they would get along, relatively speaking, I think. The only thing they wouldn't like is maybe, someone's trying to hog more jihadists to kill than the other. That's probably the only problem they would have. It's like, hey, man, give me some too. And Garth Ennis came a little close at times on taking on Jihad, even though, Garth Ennis always leans left and he gets really, really stupid about certain things. But he had this one comic about Soviets. I think it was called Soviet Punisher or something like that. It was like a Soviet version of the Punisher who teamed up with the Punisher. And in Afghanistan, the Muslims did horrific things to the Russian soldiers, and this guy wanted revenge. And it was pretty brutal to show the brutality of the Islamic enemy. That was effective. And I was shocked. Marvel published it. Shocked, flat out. Of course, they didn't get into specifics that these are Muslims or true believers like I would, but the fact that they would even show that was pretty interesting. It was a number of years ago now. Not that long, though. 5 years, maybe. Mike says, generic is an embarrassment to humanity. Never mind comics. It's very annoying. I will say that. And he's living off of this idea that people had that his comics will be good. They never were. He's still living off of that. It's like, you've already been caught. You've already been found out. What are you doing? It's like, even those who were into you aren't that into you anymore. They're like, holy shit. Some of them just are clinging to this idea that for them the culture battle is now trying to defend a riververse from reality. That's their culture war. It's like you're gonna fail that eventually, no matter how much you cling to it. It's a fantasy. A man called Plush says doing a sequel decades later is also a tough sell. Yeah, regarding Rona 2, indeed. Hello, Eric. Love me Chanix. Hello. So yeah, guys, I wrote this 2013, and this is just I just thought about it now. Actually, I just wanted to discuss the my sending Grok out that one feeler and said, who are the anti-Jihad superheroes, and the only one they could name is Pigman. Then they strangely named all these Muslim superheroes, which doesn't make sense. But and by the way, guys, about the sound that I have on my mic, I'm getting a new one. I just ordered a new one. Supposedly it's a really good one. That's the word I got from a few sources, and also just doing a little research online. I'll be getting it tomorrow, so hopefully it won't have the problems that I've had in terms of picking up noise from around my place and so on. And some people said I sound like I'm in a box. Sorry, guys. I'd rather sound better than not, but we'll see. Hopefully, that's the fix. So, okay, I wrote this again 2013 for PJ Media. Hail, Jimmy. I wrote this for PJ Media, and I'm going to read it. And just stop at each part. After each truth, the 10 truths that I list, Mike Hunt McCarthy indeed was right. And never more so than today, because we have a Cold War now within America. We have a Cold War within America with the communist left. That's trying to destroy the country from within. Okay, so again, this was sparked by, at that time, 2013, on the eve of Marvel's Muslim superhero coming out. Thanks, John. Of Marvel's Muslim superhero. But enough people complained, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to hear any more complaints about that. I just want to, and I don't want to get in the way of what I'm saying either. I just don't. I want to be as clear as I can and just have that be a less problem. So it's all about content at that point, and no technical, problems. Now, maybe I guess some might happen outside of my control, but what's in my control, I guess I can do. So anyway, 10 truths mainstream comic books evade to promote Muslim superheroes, and I always put it in quotes because a Muslim superhero would be a jihadist. If they're at all Muslim and they're superheroes, not going to be saving people out of burning buildings, not going to be flying across there and fighting criminals at night. No, they can be going against infidels if they're at all identified as Muslim superheroes. Audio check 555, all good on the TV. Thanks, Jimmy. So this is my article 2013 for PG Media. And, all right. Well, let me just keep going. I don't want to get too distracted here. The Muslim terrorist is a cliche, but only in real life. Let me think about that. We always hear that thing, someone got caught saying that in Pigman #1, where a guy on TV tells him, he goes, you always put Muslims as terrorists. That's so cliche. He goes, yeah, but only in real life. And he goes, hey. But it's true. It's not in fiction, clearly. And in post 9/11 comic books, Muslim superheroes, quote unquote, are becoming a cliche. As a cartoonist and as a recovered Muslim working on an anti-jihad graphic novel called The Infidel featuring Pigman, I've identified certain truths that Marvel and DC Comics have to evade in order to shove their Muslim superheroes down the throats of their readers. And I said, before I move on to my list, hello, my sketchbook 340. Before I move on to my list, I want to add that I put Muslim superheroes in quotes because Marvel and DC Comics want to promote Muslim superheroes without promoting Muslim superheroes. They want to promote their fantasy version of what they would like Muslim superheroes to be, not Islam's version. As I've argued in my work, a good Muslim by our standards is a bad Muslim by Islamic standards. Therefore, a true Muslim superhero would be a Muslim supervillain. You should, Mike. You should read the Quran. You want to know what the enemy thinks, what they got planned, second guess what they might do. It's always a good thing to know. So yeah, so basically the gist was here. I set it up. So the first truth that I write here in my article 10 truths, 10 truths mainstream comic books evade to promote Muslim superheroes. Yeah, my sketchbook, it is indeed. Again, the Muslim superhero would be a jihadist who's working on behalf of Islam, not saving. They want Muslims like Muhammad Ali or Dave Chappelle. Mike Hunt says, yeah, very passive Muslims who just call themselves Muslims. They're not practicing Muslims in any serious way at all. And they're celebrities, which they can make it seem like it's a bigger and better thing than it is when it's not. Also, Mike Tyson, I think, fancies himself a Muslim as well. So, the first truth 10 truths mainstream comic books evade to promote Muslim superheroes. The first truth is 1, we are at war. They evade that truth. Again, I post my lists of the body count of jihad every week. Last week is 300 something. This week, 150 something, 140, 150. Every single week, they rack up these bodies across the global jihad. And if it doesn't come to our doorsteps, we tend to ignore it, which is tragic. It's something that has to be just busted out of existence. It has to be. Has to be wiped out. And there's no interest in doing that. There's no interest in doing that. So the first truth that comic book companies evade in order to promote Muslim superheroes is the fact that we are at war. So as I said, 9/11, 2001 was 12 years ago. Again, this is 2013 when I wrote this. Yet those behind the attack are still undefeated. The greatest state sponsors of terrorism on earth, Saudi Arabia and Iran. And technically speaking, the Saudis, I think they're not technically the state sponsors as much as Iran is, but they have many sponsors in there within the kingdom. Iran is the greatest of the state sponsors, though. So the greatest state sponsors of terrorism on earth, Saudi Arabia and Iran, operate as if 9/11 never happened. And we're still not ready to identify Islam as the enemy's motivation. And I gotta say, I'm so surprised that I was even able to write this for PJ Media. All things considered, the right-wing outlets have not been as good about Islam, about taking on this enemy, about being honest that it's Islam. I'll get to your comments after, guys. And unless you want to say something clear, maybe put some caps. I can get to it regarding what I'm writing here or reading from my article. Operate as if 9/11 never happened. Basically, the two greatest state sponsors of terrorism operate as if 9/11 never happened. They didn't pay any heavy price for it. They're the greatest sponsors of terrorism. They both did. They both were in on 9/11 in their own way. We know that after the fact. We learned that, and no one. We accept it. Like, yeah, they got us. No, it's like China with the COVID. They can't get away with this. They have to pay a price for it. They have to pay a price for it. Have to. It's a world historical attack on civilization, both 9/11 and COVID. I said, can you imagine? Okay. I said, and we're still not ready to identify Islam as the enemy's motivation. Can you imagine American comic book publishers during World War II publishing Italian, Japanese, and German superhero comic books? That would have been unthinkable back then, almost as unthinkable as it currently is to see Marvel and DC create anti-jihad superheroes. While Marvel and DC are presenting Islam to us in the most politically correct possible way through their comics, in the real world, Muslims are on the warpath, killing non-Muslims every single day. And I have some links to some other stuff. These Muslim superheroes are, in the end, a way for liberals and leftists to deny the reality that an entire part of the world is at war with us, while we do everything we can to focus on Muslims who are not at war with us, as if they're the true representatives of a violent religion like Islam. And again, I will say it's till no end. The reason why many of us focus on non-devout Muslims is because devout Muslims are monsters. People are mainly pussies. They can't say that. They don't want to say that. And so I posted the picture of the victims of 9/11 here. And also the position that they take, Muslims, the submissionary position. That's their favorite position. 2, out of the truths that publishers, have to evade in order to publish Muslim superheroes is that Islam means submission, not peace. By definition, it means submission. The only reason we're talking about Islam at all today is because it doesn't mean peace. Islam literally means submission, and it demands that Muslims submit to the will of its malevolent God, Allah. September 11, 2001 is when Americans really began to discuss Islam. Unfortunately, most of that talk ended up giving the religion the benefit of the doubt, either by ignorance or by deception. But we always need to remember that it was death and destruction, not peace and understanding, which started our conversation about Islam. I will repeat that again till the end of days. The only reason why we began a discussion about Islam in the West was because jihad. Because jihad. That was why. Because of death and destruction. Not because of peace, not because of great things, not because of Islamic achievements, because of death and destruction. Yes, in general, Islam, not any alleged deviant form of it, means misogyny, censorship, anti-Semitism, homophobia, wife beatings, beheadings, honor killings, pedophilia, child marriages, as they call it, murdering infidels, etc. And while jihad literally means struggle, by definition, even though I'm glad to see that the Merriam-Webster's dictionary says jihad, a holy war fought on behalf of Islam, in the name of Islam. That's awesome. Because that's the ultimate overriding definition, even though technically speaking, jihad means struggle, like my struggle, like Hitler, right? And it's a bestseller, my struggle, Hitler's My Struggle in the Islamic World. And while jihad literally means struggle, its dominant historical meaning has been holy war. That's its real meaning, no matter what Muslims will try to tell you. Remember that, the My Jihad campaign, remember that? My Jihad is to wake up in the morning and jog and eat breakfast. Actually, Muslims were trying to tell us that. And idiots in the West like, interesting, yeah. So, I say, and the jihad against us is being fought by the enemy on every possible front, military, cultural, legal, political, etc. In the meantime, we seem content to limit our defense efforts to simply sending our troops to Muslim countries with their hands tied behind their backs, placing them in unnecessary danger by rules of engagement concocted by gutless politicians that only help the enemy. A great American military has no chance in hell of defeating the enemy when Islamophiles like George W. Bush and Barack Obama are calling the shots. Both of them were the same shit when it came to Islamic enemy, no matter what you remember or believe. Both of them said Islam is peace. Both of them kissed Islam's ass. Both of them didn't allow our soldiers to unleash hell on the Islamic enemy, didn't allow us to win against this enemy. I said, the more of us who understand the nature of this enemy and the more willing we are to tell the truth about it, the more Washington, D.C. is pressured to act more rationally against an enemy who sees all of us as guilty until proven Muslim. Guilty until proven Muslim. That's a fact. As Muslim Bassam Tibi puts it, those who resist Islam cause wars and are responsible for them, unquote. This enemy means business, and they're prepared to say and do anything to kill us, while we're not even willing to be honest with ourselves about the exact nature of what we're facing. So the third truth that comic book publishers evade in order to publish Muslim superheroes is that Islamophilia, not Islamophobia, is our problem. This undue love of Islam is our problem. That's the problem. It's not this alleged fear of Islam. Phobia are irrational fears. There's nothing irrational about being concerned about or fearing an ideology that wants you dead. Nothing irrational about that. So, in the first pages of the debut story for DC's Muslim Green Lantern, I remember this at the time. Jeff Johns wrote it, who is a Christian, I believe, but I think Arab background, and was trying to somehow blow Islam for some reason. I don't know why, but he did. He didn't make an Arab, super like a Christian Green Lantern. He made it Muslim. And they tried hard to sell the idea that it's tough to be a Muslim in post 9/11 America. Not to be an infidel, but to be a Muslim, by making not to be the victim of quote unquote Islamophobic attacks. I remember reading that, getting sick to my stomach. I said, just forget about the thousands of Americans who were butchered by Muslims on 9/11. DC seems to be telling us, just focus on this poor Muslim victim who's been mistreated by Americans, because that's a problem. I said, since the widespread post 9/11 anti-Muslim backlash that the media was bracing for never came, Islamophobic attacks in the years following have had to be exaggerated or made up. Even in a 2013 U.S. hate crimes report, Jews are still attacked 5 times more than Muslims. Another thing about that, to the schmucks who try to get on me about not going after Jews and so on, let me ask you, schmucks, do you think there are more people going after Jews or more people going after Islam in the world? More people being critical of Jews in Israel or more people being critical of Muslims and jihad and Islam? You know the answer. I know the answer. We all know why. You guys are pussies. Whatever problems you may have with them, they're not doing what the Islamic world's doing. Whatever problems you may have with Jews, it seems like a lot of you schmucks, you hate Jews because they're Jews, period. You don't even criticize Muslims for what they do weekly. They rack up bodies like no group on earth. And you're supposed to ask me if I'm a Mossad agent and so on. And stupid things like, hey, the Jews were dancing on 9/11. No, you lying rats. It was Muslims who were doing that across the world. We saw them on video. They had no shame about it. So just had to add that. Anyway, this is from someone, me, who was raised to hate Jews by my Muslim family. I was around people who admired Hitler. So you like little children here. You're stupid. Anyway, so I said phobia is an irrational fear about something. Philia is a positive feeling or liking. Why would non-Muslims have a positive feeling towards Islam, especially post 9/11? There's nothing irrational about fearing an irrational ideology that dehumanizes women, Jews, homosexuals, lax Muslims, and non-Muslims. So it's Islamophilia, an uncritical acceptance of a hostile religion. That's our problem, not any so-called phobia about it. The below graphic is part of my The Shadow Knows blog series. In my blog that Google nuked after 14 years, thousands of articles and cartoons, the bastards. Anyway, they nuked it overnight. I had this series called The Shadow Knows, where here's a statement, a word, and the shadow is the truth. Meaning, Islamophobia is a problem? No, Islamophilia is the problem. Kissing Islam's ass is the problem, not criticizing it or being, quote unquote, afraid of it. It's kissing Islam's ass, that's the problem. So the fourth reason why comic book companies need to evade in order to continue publishing Muslim superheroes is that appeasement doesn't work. Let me stop for a second. Let me read a few comments here and there. My sketchbook 340 says Ali and others were Nation of Islam Muslims, not traditional Muslims. That's a whole different cult. It is. It's more of a racist-based Islam. It is, but it's still, technically speaking, Muslims still, let's just say, Muslims will not discount them when they want to talk about the 1 point whatever billion Muslims that they try to name. Let's just say that. And regardless of the fact that Muslims tell me, oh, white Muslims, they don't really count. They want that number because there are a lot of white Muslims in Turkey and Albania and so on. So they'll count the number, but then if they see me as an ex-Muslim, you were never Muslim, look at you. It's like, dummy. It's ideology. It's not a race. Mike says there was a Popeye cartoon called You're a Sap, Mr. Jap. Is that right? During World War II, I imagine, yeah. Enrique Cabrera says, how did you first get into Islam? Was it like a family thing where your parents decided, or did you try it out after adulthood? Hell no. I was born to it. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until, as Bain said, but I was born into the dark. I was born into Islam. And however passive my parents were, as I always say, the misogyny, the Jew hatred, hardcore. The contempt for non-Muslims, the appreciation of a savage like Hitler, because he killed more Jews than anyone. Seeing others as others, not us. That kind of attitude. However, as I said, and the only, they had the Quran in the house on the shelf, but it was in Arabic. Nobody could read Arabic. So they were passive, relatively speaking, but enough were, went to mosque once, twice a year. It was not a regular thing. we had to go to the Brooklyn Mosque when we were in the Bronx for some reason. I don't know why. And the Arab imam, I mentioned this, and I'm going to have it in the origin issue of Pigman. You know, we used to go to the Brooklyn Mosque, and it looked like as soon as we walked in, because we were quote unquote white Muslims, right? Me and my family, you could tell that the imams were a little bugged because there is racism in there also. Like all of these white Muslims, there is racism within Islam as well, because they're the real hardcore of the Arabs. They don't. I think they look down on the whites and the blacks and so on. But anyway, we go there and the guy's doing his thing, Allah Akbar, right? We have to follow his moves. We don't know what we're doing, you know. And we're watching him doing all his moves, and then he got some cousins back there farting. And being a serious person, I was like, I was pissed. I was like, what the hell, man? We're supposed to be taking it seriously and stuff. Looking back, as I often say, they paid it the respect it deserved. But at the time, I wasn't too pleased, and I hit on that in the Pigman story with the brothers when they go back in time and get the origin of all the four main characters. So, you know, Salam Duka, the born again Muslim, Killian Duke, the recovered Muslim, Pigman, Frank Warner, and Muhammad, Super Jihad. Each of them get their spot to know where, we know, after we see them in action doing these great and terrible things, you get to see how they came to be. I posted a little allusion to that the other day. A young Frank Warner, bloodied but defiant and looking very angry. That was his first encounter with jihad. And I go over that in his origin. My sketchbook 340 says Barack is a commie, and commies don't mind Islam as much because it's neither peaceful or freeing ideology. It centralizes power like communism. It is similar in that way. And, you know, people say, well, communism is secular. And yeah, to some extent, but it's not rational. It's not secular in a sense where it's like rational. It's irrational. And in that sense, it can be very faith-based as well. Communism, you know, it is its own, you know, God is the state and so on, right? Individual means shit, doesn't mean anything, and so on. But also, you know, he was raised by a Muslim father. Well, not raised, his father checked out soon, but he was born to a Muslim father who turned communist. He was raised by a Muslim father, a stepfather, Barack Obama. He went to Quran class in Indonesia from 6 years old to 10 years old. And he left Islam quietly at some point to become a quote unquote Christian, which is a lie. Everyone knows it's a lie. And the schmucks who got caught up into it, the idiots on the right, even, he's Christian. Yeah, sure. He's an atheist who has a soft spot for Islam. And he's the only ex-Muslim I've ever known who likes Islam, who talks it up. The only one. I don't know any other ex-Muslim who does that. Yeah, Angie, Bush and his compassionate conservatism. What an asshole. He sucked. Compassionate conservatism. What an apologist. What an apologist. He's, by saying that, he's saying, conservatism is a problem for me. I got it. I'll say I'm not like them. I'm compassionate. Yeah. My sketchbook 340 says, is it really a phobia if the fear is warranted? That's the thing. It's not. It's not. But that's they needed their thing. They didn't have anti-Semitism. They didn't have all these other things. They didn't have that. When anti-Semitism, basically, it's this irrational hatred of Jews for being Jews. Nothing they say or do matters. It's just for being who they are. That's irrational. That's a phobia. Absolutely is. It's irrational. Muslims, on the other hand, do horrific things every single day across the world. Every single day. And we're supposed to pretend that, yeah, but we just don't like them because of who they are. No, for what they do, for what they say, for what they push, for what they promote, for their evil, for their heroes. Their heroes are Osama bin Laden. That's their heroes. My sketchbook 340 says, Bush is a party boy globalist. He sucks. He's terrible. DJ Gravy Mix says, Jews get it from all sides. It's pathetic. They do. And again, it's not for, look, You have good Jews, bad Jews, and so on. We're not talking about that. We're talking about this inherent hatred, irrational hatred of Jews for being Jews, period. As in, they're no damn good. That's what I was taught as a young Muslim. They're no damn good. And that's what these, tough guys who actually, again, they're trying to criticize me for going after the most dangerous religion on earth, the most violent religion on earth, call me a pussy for not going after the other religions. That's insane to me. And again, I don't even talk myself up about it. But if you're going to say that, it's like, okay, guys, why don't you try going after Islam and see how that is? Try drawing Muhammad and see what happens. Okay, you can go say anything you want about the Jews, anything you want. It's a lie to say, I'll be canceled everywhere. They'll come after me. No, they won't. Now, Kanye, it's not because it's not the Jews are not destroying him. Kanye is destroying himself. He's a piece of shit, dumb fuck. He's a self-destructive rat. That's what he is. It's not the Jews doing this. It's people who don't want to be associated with them. I don't blame them. Do you? Loving Hitler out there, rah. Okay, no one. And this idea also, though, that, you can only be against jihad if you're a Jew. How about that one? That's why these Jew haters call me Faustein. They actually say that. As in, well, he must be a Jew. I mean, why would he be against this savage ideology? Anyway, sorry, just dropped something. 1 second. All right, I'm going to read a few more and then continue with my article here. Eric Huffle says, yeah, all the anti-Semitism in our space is concerning. It is, Eric. It's annoying. It's a lie. It's stupid. And it's pussy-based. I mean, these guys are pussies. Whatever else they want to fancy themselves, they are pussies. You can criticize Israel for policies. You can do that. You can say, I reject all religion. Yeah, sure. But when you laser-like and blame the Jews for everything, you're a pussy and a victim. You have made yourself a victim of something that doesn't exist. And when you have a hot jihad playing out every single day, when you cannot have any comparable thing next to it that the Jews are doing, you're pussies. 150 at least, 140 this week, 300 last week. People were murdered in the name of Islam. How many were murdered in the name of Judaism? Give me a fucking break. Look, I reject all religion. I'm an atheist. I left Islam and that's it for me. But I understand the real threat. And it's not people per se. It's not people who have differing ideas. It's a movement, an ideology that wants the world for itself. They believe the world is theirs. That's what we're facing here. We have to fight that. And whatever else fantasy that they have about what the Jews have in their mind or in their plans or plots, we see what is happening every single day. The Jews are not the problem. We got the communists, we have the Muslims, two of the biggest problems right there. And also, Elijah, something, that piece of shit who was fire from a blaze, tried to pull something the old day that I took this down years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and every so often it comes up. The Jews, communism is Jewish. That's what it is. Marx and so on. Marx was an anti-religion atheist, hated life. He would never say lachem, right? To life. He would never say that. Never. He hated life, hated himself, hated his family. It wasn't Judaism that built or destroyed the idea of a communism, meaning it's a destructive force. It wasn't Judaism that built it. It was a irrational, evil, fat piece of shit. That's what it was. Who hated Jews. Stalin hated Jews. So it's like it came from Jews. And also, to hold Jews accountable for all of communism, that's some deep hatred right there. Deep hatred. So it's a lie on top of that. And also, Marx, right? Hitler hated Jews. He was a socialist, National Socialism. Nothing but the right. You got these right wingers loving Hitler. It's like, guys, you hate socialism. Why are you loving the National Socialist? Is it only because you're Jew hatred? Are you that petty, that ugly? I guess so. I guess so. Um, Mike says, most of my interaction with Jewish people is through the media they make. I've spoken with far more Muslims for sure. Don't know what that means, Mike. I don't. You got to elaborate. Through the media they make. Now, are you also one of the idiots who hate Jews and say they run the media? You know, it's like, it's leftists that run the media. Leftists. Whatever names they have, you want to attribute, their evil to their religion or to their actual ideology, which they trump their religion with. Meaning, you got these leftists who have Jewish names, right? They have left Judaism in order to promote communism, socialism, fascism, leftism. That's their real religion. But people are trying to attribute Judaism to their communism. It's stupid. Mike, you may be doing that. And if you are, let me know. And let's go at it. My Skeptic 340 says, that's what I mean, Mike. It's not irrational if there is a cause for the fear. Hail Stealth X5. DJ Grave Mix says, I've noticed that too, Eric Couples. A serious man says, by the time I saw the sun, it was nothing to me but blindness. I love that. I know that movie gets shit. It's like, you guys are shit. It's fucking great, man. Tom Hardy as Bane. What happened in that movie? To me, the events are more epic than the other movies. They're just more epic and therefore more emotionally gratifying to me. What Gotham goes through in that movie, what Bruce goes through, what Bruce Wayne goes through, what Batman goes through, the entire city. It's epic. And Bane was a great villain, and Tom Hardy played him great. Oh, you think darkness is your ally? It's just great stuff, man. By the time I saw the sun, it was nothing to me but blindness. Mike says, hanging out many different ethnic made me notice Caucasian people really say racist things. The Asians and Muslims I spoke with are ruthless with their racism. Hanging out with many different ethnic made me notice Caucasian people really rarely say. Okay, yeah, that's true. In my experience as well, the Asians and Muslims I spoke with are ruthless with their racism. That's true, Mike. The Aborigines I used to speak with are always the first to bring up race, but it's usually in a playful way. Mike says. My Sketchbook 340 says, what made you see the light to the evils of Islam? Flat out that it was not the truth. Flat out that too many Muslims around me lied like anything, big and small. Any little thing. The lies were so dominant, it made me sick. I was like, wow, this is a truthless group here, and they're all Muslims. It must be something about the religion that's just fundamentally dishonest. And that's the thing that I love truth. I loved things that are, and clearly I had to get the hell out. That's really what it was, the stinking lies. As much as the leftists lie, Muslims are in a death match with leftists when it comes to who are the bigger liars. 100%. That's the biggest battle right now in the world. Who are the bigger liars? When I throw it out there, bigger liars, people are like, come on, man, come on. That's tough. It is tough. The truthlessness of it all, the fundamental dishonesty of these ideologies, both of them. I'm talking about socialism, communism, fascism, National Socialism, all that, and Islam. They're trying to get their way into basically trying to obliterate all other ideas, values, so theirs goes dominant. And it's disgusting. Enrique Cabrera says to Mike, he goes, in my country, Mexico, were super racist, mainly towards white people, but white people don't get offended, so it's played off as just banter. But the second you offend a Mexican, that's funny. It's funny you say that, Enrique, because it's true. Mock me, this and that, and race-wise, it's laughable. You don't, if you don't take race seriously, you don't take racism seriously. It's even insult to racism. You just shoot back, say, you're the racist. We can roll with it, in other words, and we shouldn't be bound by this idea that because that group is hypersensitive, we have to be respectful of them. Fuck them. No, you got to toughen them up. You got to toughen them up. That's what we have to do. To coexist, we have to deal with the same shit that everyone else deals with. We shouldn't be immune to it. Eric, I thought it was Huffle, sorry, Hutflus says communism's religion is communism. Yeah, it is. It's also the purpose of Islam is Islam. That's really what it is. It's an end in itself. It means nothing and everything. It's pretty sick. John says communism is definitely a religion designed in the absence of God. Yeah, and it replaces the concept of God with the state. They're still focused on the state. They're still supporting the state. They're still loving the state. They're still worshiping God as the state. Mike said the Australian Aborigines are different tribes. They don't see each other as the same. There are hundreds of tribes. True. Same thing with Asians. Same thing with, I guess, other people. Certain, I think Christians, certain ways, different sects, even Muslims, the Shiites, the Sunnis, and so on, right? Hispanic people, a lot of them don't agree with everything and they don't. But it's the idiots on the left trying to categorize everyone and fucking things up, as always, Toxic Dust 13, he's a fool, and I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Revis, I was glad that Kanye was back on Twitter, but now I just want him to put down the phone. Yeah, the guy's troubled, clearly. He's sick. I think he's mentally sick. I think he's mentally ill. And he is such a coward also. He thinks it's brave to go after Jews and prop up, Hitler. Come on, bro. Go after Islam. Make some doodles of Muhammad if you can't draw. Make a song. Make a rap song against jihad. Let's see what you got. Elijah Schaefer. Thanks, serious man. Guy's a piece of shit. Elijah Schaefer. What a piece of shit. Communism is Jewish. I mean, again, trying to attribute the fact that whatever Jewishness is in these communists, that's long gone. They might have retained their name, and that's what these fools, but they're trying, again, they're like this. I hate Jews. I don't like communism. Communism is Jewish. Yes. It's, retarded. Morally retarded. My sketchbook 340 says, the real blame for Marx was a British aristocrat. Yeah, he paid Marx to sit on his ass and make up socialism. He funded the communism. The Communist Manifesto. Marx was a lazy, fat drunk who thought he was smarter than he was. Indeed. That's a good breakdown. That's exactly right. He was a kept man, a kept man by pieces of shit, wealthy pieces of shit. He was on the dole, he really was. Steve 16305 said Marx was an anti-Semite. Capitalism was his code word for Jews. His hatred for capitalism was his hatred for Jews. Similarly with Hitler, that socialists have adopted Islam is no surprise. Indeed, and also this idea, right? Hitler was a Christian and a capitalist. Complete leftist lie. After World War II, they were like, fuck, we're stuck with this guy. He's a National Socialist. We got to keep calling him Nazi and say he was a Christian and a capitalist, okay? It's over, man. The jig's up, guys. And that's why I always throw my cartoon out there. Commune Nazis, half Stalin, half Hitler, talk about the fact that it's all the same shit, same shitism. Communism, socialism, National Socialism, fascism. And it's akin to the hatred, quote unquote, between communists and Nazis, quote unquote, Nazis, National Socialists, is akin to the Shiites and the Sunni Muslims. They're brothers. They're soulless mates. They hate each other because they're in the way of their true version of their shared ideology. That's the hatred. It's not because it's diametrically opposed. And the left has been doing this for decades and decades now. But I love when the leftists lose their shit and Leftists try to laugh things off. They can't. They never laugh off my cartoon commie Nazis. Never. They get incensed, and I love it because while they're liars, they recognize the truth, and they fucking hate it. So, a serious man says, to Mustache Man, communism and capitalism were both created by Jews. So the only solution was National Socialism, embracing German culture while centralizing the economy under totalitarian control. Well, that's the thing. I mean, communism and the Soviet Union was what was it called? The United Socialist States, I believe. So they fancy themselves as socialists still. He was a socialist. They were allies. They were butt boys, Hitler and Stalin, until they weren't. Like, you know what? I want my shit. I want to be in charge here. Oh, no, I want to be. Boom. Go to war. Same thing as the Shiites and Sunnis. They're both Muslims. One group believes that the succession would have been with blood or with merit, right? So they said, okay, Muslims, they killed Muhammad's grandson or great grandson, Ali. They killed him. So then there was a break with the Shiites and Sunnis, where the Shiites believe it's all about merit, and the Sunnis believe, the Sunnis believe it's all about merit, and the Shiites believe it's all about blood. And that's why they do the Ashura Day every year, even in Brooklyn alleyways. Have you seen this, guys? I had PIGMAN address it in one issue, where they slice their backs, their heads, their shoulders or arms to feel the pain of the murdered Ali, grandson or great-grandson of Muhammad, right? To feel his pain. That's why PIGMAN sees a bunch of Hezbollah rats doing Ashura Day. He goes, come on, guys. You want to feel his pain? You got to go all the way. Let me show you. So he takes those things and, The point is that it was a break there, but they're the same shit. When it comes to us, they're brothers. That war between them, they put it aside when it comes to us. Toxic Dust 13, Chuck Schumer, what about him? Hill goody two shoes. My sketchbook 340, what did Elijah Schaefer do? Now that piece of shit said communism is Jewish. As an end in itself, he had a revelation, put it out there. Wow. Ugh, he is such a piece of shit. Delaware comic dude. Good to have you here. He says, good to see Bosch streaming. Thanks. Steve 16305 says, Mike, yep, the racial violence in country Australia is tribal. One Aboriginal, I think meant it right, tribe against another, and they collectively hate whites. Yeah. Diana says, to use your term, systemic leftism. Yeah, that is our greatest problem. It makes us weaker against the Islamic enemy also. The systemic leftism that we have within this country and the broader West. Toxic Dust 13, Kanye is a fool. Sorry, Bosch. Sorry for what? He is a fool. I agree. You don't got to be sorry. Biff Gibson says, you're all right, Bosch. You can be kind of stiff and self-serious, but you have a John Wayne swagger. I'll get PIGMAN. Thanks, Biff. Kind of stiff, I guess. I don't know. I'm not loose. That's for sure. And speaking of John Wayne, that's what I give the character Killian Duke. His name is Duke-I, Albanian background, but he changed it to Duke, in honor of John Wayne, the Duke. My sketchbook 340 says, yeah, Hitler and Stalin were that one Islamic ruler trying to burn the other versions of the Quran. Yep, my version is the right one. Indeed, they are the same guys, the same piece of shit, anti-individualism, hate Jews, hate anything outside of their control, hate life. And maybe his Jew hatred was a little more than his. Okay. But that's not, it's the same shit. He just maybe killed more Jews. That's it. But they both killed millions. Mao, arguably one of the greatest mass murderers ever. His own people. Toxic Dust 13, Bernie Sanders and Chuck Schumer, National Socialists. Indeed they are. Yes, they are. They are National Socialists. And I want to see the popular right. Elon interviewed a German politician, and she said that Hitler was a socialist. And Elon put, yes, he was. I want to see more of that from powerful voices. I want to see more of that. I've been saying this for a long time. I made cartoons about it. I put it in my books, in my essays, articles. I want to see guys like Elon hit that home over and over and over again until it becomes inundated with the left and like, fuck. Because they've been trying to hot potato, Hitler off of them for a century almost. Just, no, 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 he's yours, he's yours. No, he's yours, bitch. He's a leftist. Hey, Matt. No Mange Foston? No, I can't do that. I don't put on a front. I don't put on a roll. That's fine. Shane wants to do that. That's fine. It's fun. People like it, I guess. I'd rather talk to Shane than Mange anyway. So let me continue, guys. Thanks for the give and take. So this is the fourth truth that I wrote, which is the fourth truth that comic book companies ignore in order to publish mainstream superheroes. The fourth truth is that appeasement doesn't work. I said the more we say Islam means peace, quote unquote, the more peaceful Islam becomes. And Islam is peace. I'm being sarcastic there. The fact that DC Comics finds it necessary to have their Muslim Green Lantern be part of not one, but two popular superhero team series tells me they know this character can't carry his own weight with their readers. A big reason is that we all know Muslims have done nothing to deserve the constant tributes they receive from us. What's the likelihood of Saudi Arabia and Iran publishing comic books with American and Israeli superheroes? Think about that, guys. Please, let me repeat. What's the likelihood of Saudi Arabia and Iran publishing comic books with American and Israeli superheroes, while American idiots, leftists, publish constantly more Muslim superhero comics? Was it ever on the other side? Would they ever do that, dream of that? No. As likely as Obama becoming a born-again capitalist. Our appeasement has turned the enemy's hatred of us into contempt. Ain't that the truth? It's true. Our appeasement of them has turned, they hate us, but now they hold us in contempt for trying to kiss Islam's ass. And now Marvel Comics will debut its new female Muslim superhero. Again, this is 2013, guys. I wrote this for PJ Media. I'm reading it off of Think Israel because PJ Media took out my cartoons. And I'll get back to your comments here, guys, right after. I can read a little more. It says 230 eyes. Is that people viewing? Cool. That's awesome. I see 3 thumbs up. It seems like every time I do a stream now, it's growing, which is awesome. And guys, if I can remind you, if you're on YouTube, if you could like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And check out my other content. Now I have 90-something videos, a lot of live streams now, a number of recorded videos on certain books that I like, and so on. I have 19 videos on the greatest comic book artist of all time, Alex Toth, and so on. So check it out, guys. If you could do that, I would really appreciate it. And like this also on X. Thanks, guys. So let me continue. This is the fourth truth again, that comic book companies need to evade in order to continue publishing Muslim superheroes. And now Marvel Comics will debut, again, it's 2013, right before Marvel published their shitty Muslim superhero, Ms. Marvel, who's like a charity case, who's affirmative action. They're trying to prop her up, and she sucks. She's been around now for 12 years, and there's nothing. I mean, no one cares for her. People who pretend to like her are lying. She sucks. Anyway, and now Marvel Comics will debut its new female Muslim superhero in her own comic book, but she'll be given the name of an established pre-existing superhero, Ms. Marvel, in order to give her a leg up. I expect this character to join the Avengers or something, and she did. She joined Avengers and the Champions and this and that, the X-Men now and so on. So again, she's being thrown around. Okay, guys, make her popular, and no one can do it. No one can do it because the concept is flawed. It's trying to create someone who shares the ideology of an enemy at war with civilization and try to make her likable and sweet and popular. It's impossible. Impossible. I said, and let's say she ends up in the Avengers comic book. She did. I can already see activist Muslim groups petitioning Marvel Comics to put her in an Avengers film. That's how she got in, I believe, in one of those comics, because the idiot Kevin Feige was asked point blank, she can be in movies? Yes, she will. Such a pussy. And if it doesn't happen soon, they'll cry Islamophobia. Marvel, on giving this unearned tribute to Islam, has now opened the door to Muslims demanding a male Muslim superhero as well. And after that, I'm going to read two more of these truths, as I put them. They're not truths; they're actual truths, but it's on my list. The 10 truths, and then I'll get back to you some similar comments, guys. And after that, there could even be talk about why it is that one of the great superhero icons hasn't converted to Islam yet, and so on. Again, where's the equivalent of this in a Muslim world? Non-existent. After one of my talks, an attendee made the observation that it's we who are putting sheep's clothing on wolves. This was a speech I made in University of Maryland. It was University of College in Maryland. And I did a speech. And in the middle of my speech, I drew Muhammad. And I remember there were quote unquote Palestinians and some Turks in the audience. And they made themselves known in the beginning of the talk. And then sure as hell after. And they sat there and they took it. And at the end, they came up and started trying to get in my face and, hey, man, you were never really Muslim. Look at you. And I'm like, you guys are racist. I said, it doesn't matter how I look. My parents were Muslim, Albanian Muslim. I was raised Muslim. And I left. And I said, if you guys fancy yourself true Muslims, I said, if you guys were true Muslims, you would have ran on stage as I would draw Muhammad and try to cut my head off. That's what you would have done. And it was interesting. And they were... The only thing that kept them, I think, their hand at bay was the fact that they are American. They don't have the thrust yet, the fire of trying to take me out. They're more like my family members. They're more American than they are Muslim. They'll lie about it. They'll say, "Oh, I'm Muslim." Yeah, sure. You have a dog. You have Jewish friends. You treat your wife fine. You're not Muslim. You're American, and that's what these guys were too. But they were still assholes, clearly. But they weren't going to cut my head off. And I offered that to all universities across the country. I said, guys, we should make Muslims used to this. Let them get used to this, being drawn Muhammad. Let me do speeches at colleges. I'll draw Muhammad in the middle of my speech. And you guys get some security if they get a little out of hand, but they should get used to it. We all get it. All of us get it. They got to get it too. And that's my point. And that's why I've drawn Muhammad over 700 times to make it acceptable. It should be acceptable. It shouldn't be this horrific, crime against 1 point whatever billion people they want to claim. So anyway, let me continue. After one of my talks, an attendee made the observation that it's we who are putting sheep's clothing on wolves on the jihadists, and I turned that into my cartoon below. So here's a cartoon of a Westerner saying, there you go, nice, huh? He's putting sheep's clothing. Peace. And the guy, being the wolf as he is, cuts him up. I drew this affirmative action comics. We've gone from action comics to affirmative action comics. Gay superheroes, black superheroes, female superheroes, Muslim superheroes, and so on, who cannot stand on their own, and have to be, given these mantles, let's make a black Superman, let's do this, let's do that, black Wonder Woman, so on. Just make some original characters, and if they stand the test of time, great. Black Panthers has stood the test of time. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created him. That's it. He's a black superhero. I mean, make another one, and another one, so on. If that's your interest, go for it. The fifth truth that comic book publishers evade in order to continue publishing Muslim superheroes is Islam doesn't sell from Muhammad to today's Islamic comics. So I will read this one and then I'll get back to the comments, guys. We'll go back and forth. Because these are 10 truths. I got the fifth one right now. Let me read it and then go back to you guys. Islam doesn't sell from Muhammad to today's Islamic comics. Muhammad was only able to sell Islam to around 150 people in 13 quote-unquote peaceful, aka powerless years. For 13 years, he tried to sell Islam. He couldn't do it. Only after he revealed himself to be a murderous, sore loser did he attract a following of cutthroats, whom he led in forcing large masses to submit to Islam. He started to raid the Jewish caravans. All of a sudden, he got a revelation from Allah. You can raid these caravans. You can be a little tough with them sometimes. You can hurt them. You can kill them, and so on and so on and so on. And that's when he got a whole load of Arabs on his side. They're like, huh, we don't have to change our old ways with the sword and stealing and killing and still be considered holy? Where do I sign up? Huh? That's it. So I said, which brings us to today. Islam does not sell, even when it's whitewashed. The Muslim comic book publisher behind the 99, Dr. Naif al-Matawa, assures us that there is no religion in his comics, no praying in it, etc., as do the female Muslim editor and female Muslim writer behind Miss Marvel. But that's not necessary when the entire point of his venture is to push Muslim superheroes, not to tell good comic book stories. That the writing and art are mediocre hits the point home further. This series is one Muslim's attempt at normalizing Islam in the West via pop culture. But even though he was able to shake down DC Comics after Marvel passed, because he went to Marvel and for the 99 they said no dice, I'm shocked, but they did. He went to DC and they bent over. Yes, yes, yes. Allah, Akbar. By getting them to agree to have Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, who was conveniently covered up more than usual during the series, during the 99 in a crossover, the series that died a well-deserved death in a marketplace. Even the big three superhero icons, along with all the leftist media support you'd expect, couldn't lift the 99 Muslim superheroes to the success that they wanted. So let me go to number 6. I have that ready here. And let me read some more comments, guys. Just ask any questions, guys. Anything goes. If I think they're stupid, I'll call them stupid. But overall, you guys are pretty damn good. Eric Hotfless, if that's how you pronounce it. John Malin was canceled from the mainstream for saying that SJWs equals Nazis. Did he? Is that the specific reason? Because I know he was canceled over some commentary, but is that the specific one? Because if it is, it's true and it's unfortunate, but that's true. They are the National Socialists. What we have today, the Democrat Party, or I call them Nazicrats. They are our National Socialists. That's what they are. That is what they are. And look at their actions, look at their commentary, look at their anti-free speech, their anti-freedom, anti-individualism. Their lust for power. They're Nazis, National Socialists. John says, Shane is a precious gem, Mange is a diamond in the muff. That's funny. Sean says, Sean Ferris, I can't wait to see you on with David Wood and AP. I told DW about your upcoming crowdfund. Thanks, Sean. I do appreciate it. I'm not sure. I've known him for years. Used to go, exchange stuff on X here and there. I think AP just likes something mine recently. We follow each other. I follow David. He doesn't follow me, so maybe he doesn't see my stuff. But I'd love to be on there. These guys, they know their stuff. They know their stuff more than me. I will say that. I'm not like Robert Spencer where I know, chapter and verse, the Quran. I've read it twice. I've looked at it over and over again just to make sure I'm right on certain things, but I don't want to know it to that extent. I just don't. I learned it in order to understand the enemy for my story. That's really the point. That's really why I learned. Not just out of curiosity. It's a morbid curiosity, just find out what Islam means. I want to know. I want to get in the head of the enemy, second guess what they might say and do, and so on. And in order to defeat them within my story. And hopefully, eventually in real life. So thanks, Sean. Thanks for getting the books. I do appreciate it, and for getting the drawings. That's very, very cool. Eric Hutfless says they trying to push Kamala Khan harder than Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns. Who is that? That sounds familiar. Let me know, Eric. Toxic Dust 13. Why female Muslims? As in, why Marvel did it? I'm assuming the leftists of Marvel wanted to do a female. Now, it was a female Muslim who basically pressured she knew that she could kick the cowards by saying, I want to create a Muslim superhero. And they said, yes, ma'am. Clearly. But also, it doesn't give them. Women are less aggressive than men. I think they wanted a less aggressive Muslim. It's just my assumption. They didn't want some Muslim male superhero pounding away at bad guys and making them look violent. Is just my assumption again? But in general, are you asking why there are female Muslims? As in they're a necessary evil, as in they're used for sex and to bring in male heirs into the world, period. That's what they're for. Um, Muhammad supposedly, the myth is the story is that he flew over hell and peeked in, and when his wives asked him what he saw, he goes, "I saw most of them. Most of the inhabitants were women." She goes, "Why is that?" Because they don't listen to their husband, you know. Dreamcast 18 says, so they just need to start building that Marvel's Bloodline storyline. Not sure what you're referring to. It sounds a little familiar, but Talks to Dust 13. But what if Muhammad looks like Eric July? I drew Eric July as Muhammad. I sold it, actually. It was an index card drawing. Pretty fun. Zeno the Stoic says he was a bandit leader. He was. Talks to Dust 13 says, can you still draw? Are you asking me? Yes. Zeno the Stoic says, YouTube isn't letting me say the name of the leader at the Battle of Taurus. Is that right? Revis, last couple of days have exposed a lot of fakes on Twitter with Ashley St. Clair and Elon baby crap. My third eyes have been awakened. Roman Reigns is a pro wrestler. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of talk. Eric says, Roman Reigns is a professional wrestler. Thanks. Has been trying to make the next thing, big thing, trying to make the next big thing for free. Okay, I guess, and they're failing. Sean says, you may want to watch the debate from Saturday on modern day debate between David, and Robert. It was absolutely hilarious. You talking about Robert Spencer and David or someone else, Sean? Hamilton Berger says, thanks, guys. I didn't know. I haven't. I drew a number of, in my second Peaceful Death Threats, I drew a number of wrestlers as Muhammad because I was like losing. I was like, okay, what else? Okay, wrestlers. Boom, let me use that. So I drew a lot of wrestlers, pro wrestlers, WWE, whatever you call it. Roman Reigns, a pro wrestler, distant cousin of The Rock, WWE, spent years trying to make him a big star and just kept pushing. I see. It happens sometimes, It's like the right was trying to, I guess, push Eric July, really. He sucks, but they still try. Like the Blaze and so on. Even Fox. Power Master Jazz, WWE wrestler who they try to push. Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks for filling me in. Steve 16305. He didn't gain popularity until they turn him into a heel. Okay. I guess that usually works when they get desperate to go into the full heel turn. Steve 16305 says Islam rules in Australia. If we criticize a religion, we get a knock on the door from police. It's tragic, man. It really, really is. It really is what's happening in the UK, what's happening across Europe, Australia, other countries, Canada even. Unacceptable. And part of why I draw Muhammad as much as I do is to keep that world at bay. Look at the world that you can't draw Muhammad in. We got to push back against that world. Make sure that our world doesn't go near that. Terrible. OB1ER. Are you familiar with Faiza Hussein or Excalibur in Marvel? She was kind of a prototype Kamala Khan. Maybe. That sounds familiar. In Excalibur comics, are you talking about? Chris Claremont and Alan Davis. It sounds familiar. Hamilton Berger says Bloodline is a storyline with Roman Reigns. Okay, at the center. I see, guys. Okay. I'm totally off the loop here. Apologize. Thomas Leiter says, do you like Middle Eastern food? I love goat curry, food, women, and music from most cultures are redeeming. Sure, I do like some of that food, definitely. I've had the red chicken. I've had, now I don't know if that's Indian but I've had certain things, definitely. I like it. Some Albanian food is pretty good too that my mom used to make. Pretty good. Robert and D Wood debated if Momo was made up. Yeah, I see. If Muhammad, yeah. Because Robert is more or less, I think, at this point, convinced that he didn't even exist. He was just a figment of the imagination of some Arab gangs wanting to get on it. Basically, they wanted to get in on the religion racket, but retain their ways. As in, we're still going to be exactly what we are: thieves and sword, and, killers, murderers. But we're going to put a religious robe around that, make ourselves to feel better about it. Hail, Jeremy. Power Masters Jazz says, your boy Zach said Riri Williams and Kamala Khan could be saved if they turned villain. Maybe. Or if they, went against their programming. If Kamala Khan left Islam. I would get that issue, just out of curiosity. If they asked me to write her, they won't, but if they did, I'd make her leave Islam and I'd make her fight jihad. That's what I would do. Steve 16305 says Australia has a problem in that we imported so many from the Middle East. Jews are unsafe in hospital because of Islamic nurses. I saw that, man. That is some scary shit. I saw that. And supposedly the guy was caught with something. The guy who was denying the fact. He was, I was just talking shit. No, you were doing more than talking shit. You were doing more than that. And I believe there was another, I think, a story that came out on X about it. Okay. Obi-Wan ER, no. Faiza Hussein was a character from the late 2010s, first period in Captain Britain and M113. MI13? MI13? Okay. Hill, Eric. Take care. Zeno, oh, are you still here? Zeno the Stoic said, do leftists align with Islamists? I hate that word, Islamists. No offense, Zeno, but ugh. Just devout Muslims, just Muslims, really. Osama bin Laden never said, I am an Islamist. He said, I'm a Muslim in the name of Islam. But anyway, that's my thing, and it's even I go after friends about it. So if you take it personally, too bad. Do leftists align with quote-unquote Islamists not understand what will happen eventually, or do they imagine they can defeat or convert them? They don't think clearly. You know, there were communists in Iran, right? When the Ayatollah took over, what do you think happened to the communists? Why don't we ever hear about the communists in Iran anymore? Who were bringing on the Constitution, who were behind it, imprisoned, converted, or killed. That's why. They cannot coexist. You got two evil, totalitarian ideologies. One's going to fold. Right now in China, communism will dominate the Muslims in there. That's why they're in these, I guess, prisons. The Muslims in there. In Iran, Muslims dominate. Therefore, the communists are kept at bay, converted, or killed. I say no problem, Eric. All right, guys. So let me continue. I got 5 more truths to say. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 5 more. Islam is contrary to liberal values. This is the 6th truth that comic book publishers evade in order to continue publishing Muslim superheroes. And again, guys, if you could like this video, I would appreciate it on both X and YouTube. If you could share it also, I would appreciate that as well. And also check out all my other content. I'm slowly building my channel. I'm enjoying this. I appreciate all the give and take, guys. Thank you so much, man. I do appreciate it. Let me go read a few more. Let me read 3 more and then get back to the chat. 3 more, guys, okay? Islam is contrary. Again, this is the 6th truth that I wrote and the 10 truths that comic book publishers evade in order to continue publishing Muslim superheroes. I said it longer than the actual title, believe it or not, but I wanted to get it clear that this is what I'm dealing with here. Islam is fundamentally illiberal, but that doesn't matter to liberals in the comic book industry, where if it does, you'd never hear them say so. While they claim to value free speech, women's rights, homosexual rights, tolerance, etc., they throw it all out the window when it comes to Islam. They give the most illiberal culture in the world a pass out of hypocrisy and cowardice. See Liberals' 10 Commandments, post 9/11 by Amy Peikoff. In terms of how different the Muslim world is from ours, consider how we habitually refer to it as, quote unquote, the Muslim world. It's a way of recognizing how separate, how alien that part of the world is to America, to the West. We're taught to value, one second, guys. We're taught to value human life. Muslims are taught to value Islam. I gotta repeat that. We're taught to value human life. Muslims are taught to value Islam. They do place Islam above human life. We see Hitler as an icon of evil. Muslims see him as their favorite infidel. I made a cartoon many years ago called Islam's Favorite Infidel. And the cartoon was a blank face with Hitler's hair. And it was called, Islam's Favorite Infidel. And you look at it, it's clearly Hitler, just with those words. Speaking of my own experience, I can only name maybe a handful of any of my male Muslim relatives who didn't beat their wives. That's a fact. And these, keep in mind, I come from a Albanian Muslim, family in the Bronx, in America. In America, they kick the asses of women, cousins, my father, and so on, routinely. maybe a handful of those that I didn't think they did. They may have behind the scenes, but some of them, kicked their wives in front of entire parties, down steps, kicking their wives, and no one really stopping it. Some people not liking it, clearly, but no one really stopping it because it was the older guys. Respect, right? Okay, so speaking from my own experience, I can only name maybe a handful of my male Muslim relatives who didn't beat their wives. Homosexuals are murdered for being homosexuals, and liberals are silent. And yet, this is the culture to which our biggest comic book publishers pay tribute. These are the same publishers run by those who profess to hold liberal values. This is not simply cowardice on the part of Marvel and DC. This is super cowardice. And then I have, this is Woody Allen as Captain America, drained of any red, white, and blue. So it's light blue, somewhat gray, pink, dirty yellow, green. 7. The 10 truths comic book publishers evade to publish Muslim superheroes is, the 7th truth is, Islam is contrary to the superhero tradition that was built by, quote, the descendants of apes and pigs. That's referring to Jews in the Quran multiple times. The descendants of apes and pigs. While American superheroes, most of them were created by Jews, were fighting Nazis in comic books during World War II. Pay attention, guys. This is a point that I think I really hit home here. While American superheroes, most of them created by Jews, were fighting Nazis in comic books during World War II, the Muslim world allied with Nazis in real life. Terrorist Yasser Arafat's uncle, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, was in Germany trying his best to expedite the Holocaust, complaining that the Germans were too lazy to get the job done. This is true. The creators, so Muslims were in on the Holocaust. They were there. They were expediting it. They were calling the Germans lazy for not killing enough Jews or fast enough. The creators of Superman, Batman, and Captain America were all Jews, or as the Quran refers to them, the descendants of apes and pigs. To see, and again, if you comic book fans, you Jew-hating comic book fans, hate Jews, hey man, you sure love their products, don't you? You sure love their creations. The creators of Superman, Batman, and Captain America were all Jews, or as the Quran refers to them, the descendants of apes and pigs. To see this Muslim superhero trend take place in a medium built by Jews during a time of war where Jews are targeted more than others is particularly disturbing. Superheroes were a way for cartoonists in World War II to smash our enemies, to give themselves and their readers a much-needed taste of victory against them. Can you imagine Joe Simon and Jack Kirby? Let me hit this home, guys. Can you imagine Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, instead of creating Captain America in order to fight Nazis during World War II, creating a German superhero while ignoring Nazis in World War II? Because that's what's being done with Miss Marvel. That's as likely as Obama talking up America as much as he praises Islam. So here's a contrast here. U.S. comics in wartime, from kicking evil's ass to kissing evil's ass. Captain America punching Hitler, America's enemy, to now we're producing comic books praising an enemy ideology. And keep in mind also, when they say, oh, she's not really that devout, she's not really religious, she has a goddamn hadith here, which is a little more deeper than your average Muslim. They just might read the Quran or just have it in their house. The hadith is the further sayings and doings of Muhammad, the further history. It contextualizes the Quran. So, and she wears a kafiyah, a terror scarf. So, and there's my there's Super Jihad, Pigman's arch enemy. 8. The 8th truth that comic publishers evade in order to publish Muslim superheroes is that good Muslims by our standards are bad Muslims by Islamic standards. Jihadists are Islam's heroes. Quote, a quote-unquote Muslim superhero, if at all devout, would not act like your average non-Muslim superheroes, the way the current Muslim superheroes are behaving in their comic books. They would act in the name of Islam, and that means acting in ways that are antithetical to the American way. They would do things that Islam commands that they do. Again, I wrote this 2013 for PJ Media. And it still stands today. It really does. Nothing's changed with the industry. I'm still doing Pigman. They're still blowing Islam and having Muslim superheroes. They would act in the name of Islam, and that means acting in ways that are antithetical to the American way. They would do things that Islam commands that they do. And the more devout, the more potentially dangerous the Muslim superhero would be to non-Muslims. Being a jihadist, fighting, killing, and dying in the name of Allah is the pinnacle of being a Muslim. It's not an exaggeration, guys. And when people say not all Muslims are terrorists, as if they've stopped your argument cold, you need to remind them that not all of us are soldiers as well. Heroes are a small minority in any culture, and the same goes for Islam, whose heroes are the jihadists. What a liberal considers to be a Muslim superhero, I think in those days I was using liberal and leftist interchangeably. Now I just say leftist. Let me read it as I would now. What a leftist considers to be a Muslim superhero and what a Muslim superhero would be, according to Islam, are two completely different things. Let me reiterate. A hero by Islamic standards is a villain by Western standards. Islam's heroes are our villains. And this is an old drawing I made, Vow, which I redid for an auction recently at John Malin bought, which is awesome because it's a lot better than this one. The idea was there, but the one I drew for John was really good. I didn't draw it for him, but he ended up buying it. Actually, I'm going to finish these two and then get to some comments, and then I got to get going. The ninth truth that comic book publishers evade in order to publish Muslim superheroes is you can't insert 9/11 into a superhero world without avenging it. This is one of the most important things that I wrote here. The other stuff I've been writing for years. This is a little more unique take, a little more nitty gritty here. If you can pay attention, guys, you can't insert 9/11 into a superhero world without avenging it. Keep it in mind. Meaning, once you introduce the idea of 9/11, right? What the fuck is Superman doing against this Islamic enemy? It's like, okay, wouldn't you want vengeance? If you introduce the idea of 9/11 in the DC universe or in the Marvel universe, what are these superheroes doing against this enemy? What? World War II was in active comic books back then in the 40s. It was part of it. Our superheroes were kicking the asses of our enemies. The Japanese, the Germans, the Italians, the National Socialists, the fascists, the Imperial Japan, Japanese. So if you're going to bring 9/11 into this fictional world, you have to avenge it. So you can't insert 9/11 into a superhero world without avenging it. And I elaborate here a little. I say, after a dozen years, DC Comics finally acknowledges 9/11 in its comic books, but keeps its quote-unquote Muslim superhero from retaliating against those who have hijacked Islam. Of course, the jihadists haven't hijacked Islam, but that's the premise of the Muslim superhero, that they're the good Muslims, the true representatives of the religion of peace, while the true believers are just a small minority of extremists. This is a premise that DC wants to implicitly push. Let me repeat. Again, this is a 2013 article I wrote for PJ Media called The 10 Truths That Comic Book Comic Book Publishers Evade in Order to Publish Muslim Superheroes. So I said this is a premise that DC wants to implicitly push, but never explicitly put to the test. So they avoid it altogether, missing the opportunity to go down a dishonest path that would inevitably lead them to the truth they want to avoid. DC Comics used to publish a comic book called The Brave and the Bold, used to. And then the 10th reason why comic book publishers evade the 10 truths that comic book publishers evade in order to continue publishing Muslim superheroes is PIGMAN. A little self-serving there, right? You're the reason why I won't feel bad when we all die in a nuclear holocaust. That was one of the blurbs. Well, it wasn't a blurb. It was a leftist trying to tell me that my comic book work with Pigman is one of the reasons why she won't feel bad when we all die in a nuclear holocaust. That's pretty wild. So that was one leftist response. I put liberal there, but leftist now. That was one leftist response, the most unhinged I've ever gotten to my Pigman work. I ended up using it as a blurb for my comic book. Pigman, or as the jihadist enemy refers to him, the beast, that's what they call him. They don't even have the words pig come out of their mouth. He's my anti-jihad superhero. I created him after 9/11 when I thought about what would be the last thing in the world the enemy would want to face. So I thought up a big, ruthless American ex-Muslim who knows the enemy's language in more ways than one, and who dresses up in pigskin leather, hell-bent on making the enemy pay with their lives for 9/11. As he puts it in chapter 1, they've come to kill us and will die for it. And even though the comic book industry has done its best to ignore Pigman, they couldn't do that the night I ended up on The Daily Show. Check out my full account here. If you haven't seen me on A Daily Show, I did post it on my X account probably within the last few days. Check it out, guys. If you haven't seen it, it's worth it. And, actually, it was aired on Kings, but I think Ethan took it out, probably for copyright reasons. So if you want to check it out, because I had The Daily Show send me the actual disc a while back, so I can own it, own at least the video of it, not to share it out there wildly, but just on my feed. The West's Muslim superheroes exist in order to deny the need for anti-jihad superheroes. The West's Muslim superheroes exist in order to deny the need for anti-jihad superheroes. And Pigmen exist in order to show how we should respond, at least in fiction, to an enemy who forces average Americans to jump from skyscrapers to their deaths. And there's another character in Pigman's world, one who is determined to become the ideal Muslim, one who is determined to be the champion of the Muslim world. And once he achieves that state, he naturally becomes Pigman's archenemy. His name is Super Jihad, and he represents what a true Muslim superhero would be like if one is honest about the nature of Islam and its jihad. So that's, in the end, that's what the true Muslim superhero would be. A villain in the name of jihad against the West, against everything that we hold dear. It was fun writing it. And it was important because I wanted to get that out, especially on the eve of the release of that piece of crap character called Miss Marvel. So I'm going to read a little more here, guys. I just want to show Pigman. When he comes up against Osama bin Laden. That's the first full shot of Pigman, like clear shot of Pigman from head to toe in the book. Okay. In the light also, because he's in the dark at first. All right, guys, I'm going to read a few more of your comments, and then I'm going to get going. Sean says, it was reported that a vial of morphine was found in one of the Gazans' locker in the hospital in Australia. Yep. These are evil scum. And talk about do no harm, right? Doctors, to them, they don't give a shit about that. They place Islam above that. And again, they place Islam above that, right? Above that oath. And leftists place communism above their whatever background they may have, Jewish background. But these rats on the right, like Schaefer and other rats, want to put all the evil of the left onto the Jews. That's evil. That's evil. That's leftism. And I question the rationality of these rats on the right. They love Hitler. You love a National Socialist. What's up with that, Mr. Conservative? I think these guys are socialists as well. I think they're bad actors. Steve 16305 says in response to Sean about the Gazan doctors, quote unquote Gazan doctors, the vial of morphine, goes, yep, those two nurses were serious. The day after October 7th, thousands celebrated in the streets of Sydney and Melbourne, chanting hatred to the Jews in front of the Sydney Opera House. Police did nothing. Yeah. Zeno the Stoic says, you create cycles where the husband abuses the wife, his wife abuses the children. Indeed. Absolutely right. That's exactly true. And a brutal upbringing. Father was brutal, brutalized my mom, and so on. Her, to us. Yeah. Zeno the Stoic says, alternate universe 1945, we don't need to see this ugly phobia against Germans and the poor Japanese. Ask, what did we do to cause Pearl Harbor? Yeah, I know. 1941. But I hear you. That is the same shit. Obi-Wan Kamala Khan is basically a moderate who selectively adheres to Islamic Quranic beliefs and values so as to be able to live comfortably in a liberal democracy. So she represents a real life type? No? Sure. But what does that mean? They call her a Muslim superhero, Muslim superhero. So they're not just saying that she's a passive Muslim, a hack Muslim. She's not really that Muslim. They don't say that. They call her a Muslim superhero. And if she's a Muslim superhero, they have to acknowledge the fact that she's a practicing Muslim. By calling her that, they're saying that she's a Muslim. And if she's an actual Muslim, she should be, embracing the religion and telling her friends, you better wear a headscarf and so on. So I've heard this argument. It's a weak one. It really is, where people say, hey, man, people like that exist. So what? Why did you start talking about Islam? Because of passive Muslims? Because of Muslims like Kamala Khan? No. Why are we even having this discussion? Why did I write this article? Why did I create PIGMAN? Because jihad. That's the only reason why any of us discuss this bullshit. I left Islam years ago. I wanted nothing to do with it. Muslims come back, commit this horrific act of horror, of terrorism, 9/11. It all comes back to me. I go read the Quran. I study everything that I can get my hands on to try to push back against this evil and the lies that push. And also against this really limp stuff here. Hey, man, she represents a real life type. Big shit. So what? Does she represent Islam? Is the question. No, she doesn't. And they call her a Muslim superhero. Or a Muslim superhero, a Muslim superhero. There's nothing Muslim about her. She's your average New Jersey girl. That's what she is. So, Steve16305 says, these truths are spot on. Thanks. They could be generally applied to how Western media and politicians have fetishized Islam. Indeed. Much respect to you, Bosch. I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you. Power Master Jazz says, thanks for going live and reading my comments. I'll definitely be buying PIGMAN #1. Respect to you, Bosch. Keep fighting the good fight. I appreciate it, Power Master Jazz. And you guys, yeah, I'm launching my first crowdfund, PIGMAN #1, this coming Friday. It's going to be on Fund My Comic. I was on Ethan's Trashcast the other day, and someone asked, where are you going to launch it? And Ethan said, maybe you do it here. So we'll see. I know he gets busy, and I know he does his own thing, but if he can, great. Or one of the guys, one of the kings. But I'm going to be doing it on my channel as well. So it'll be more or less, if not all day, it'll be a bulk of the day. Thanks to Power Messages. Hamilton, great stream, Bosch. I appreciate it. Hamilton, thank you. Barb Rogers, Miss Solar Terror, by the power of Bacon Hill. Bacon. Good night, Bosch. Good night, Sean. Now I want bacon. Hell yeah. Barb Rogers, Lord of Pork, February 21st. Thanks, Barb. I appreciate it. February 21st, guys. The launch of PIGMAN to CG. Very excited. Very excited. I think it'll be you guys have been very welcoming, and I think it'll be welcomed well. So we'll see. But thanks a lot, guys. Welcome well, I guess. You guys take care. Be well. Been here for almost 2 hours. I can't believe how fast it goes. It truly flies. And tomorrow I'm getting another mic, and it should be good. It should be good. Wingus Dingus. Hey, funny, I just got back home from DebateCon, which I had some issues with Islamic death threats. The debate on whether Christianity or Islam was better for society was over pretty quickly. Let me know about it at some point to Wingus Dingus. Maybe next stream. I'd like to hear about it. Or just tag me on X. Maybe write a little post about it. I'd like to hear about it. Diana says, September 11, 2012, Benghazi during the Obama regime boils my blood, but also to reference World War II every time I raised and lowered the flag on the Arizona Memorial. Never forget. Never forget. Thanks, Diana. Barb says, bacon. Eric Huffles, oh my, LOL. Good night, everybody. Good night, Lux. Good night, everyone. Take care. Be well. Thanks for taking part. Always appreciate it. And again, if you can like it, subscribe. I would really appreciate it on YouTube. And if you don't follow me on X, which I imagine you do, follow me. I want to grow my presence. I've lost over 20,000 followers across social media in the last decade. So I'm behind already, but hopefully I can, keep growing. Guys, take care. Be well. Friday. Good night. Friday, February 21st. Pigman #1 goes live. Take care, guys.